Hello, everyone. My name is Nathan Jarosz with the Summit County Progressive Democrats, continuing our Akron Mayor interviews. Today, I'm joined by Akron City Councilwoman Tara Mosley. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Excellent. So our very first question is just as simple. Why are you running for mayor?
I am running for mayor for the city of Akron because I do believe that we need to take the city in a new direction, and I think it needs to be a direction at putting people first. And so we are running on a campaign of making sure that people know that they are our first priority. I'm running because I think it's just time. It's time for us to be doing something different here for the city.
And now, why do you believe you're qualified to be mayor?
Well, I think that my wealth of experience qualifies me to be the mayor. Not only have I served on the Akron City Council for 9 years, I've brought forth meaningful legislation and resolutions that put me far above the field, and it's always been community-centered in mind and moving this community forward. I've brought in over $1 billion into the ward that I represent by having those partnerships with, whether it's for economic development, job creation, and having those important relationships with stakeholders is important when you talk about wanting to be mayor and moving the city forward. And I was a bailiff prior to that for 5 years, and being able to handle a court docket where we probably disposed of over 14,000 and 15,000 cases in a year. That means I'll be able to handle the bandwidth of the city, because I know a lot of people say, how are you going to be a CEO? And I said, if you love people and you give people an opportunity to grow and just do the jobs that they're being paid to do. I mean, to me, it's not hard to do. That's the easy part of the job. Being able to maneuver personalities, that's another component of the job. And so I think that the wealth of experience that I've had from whether it's the courthouse, on city council, or even my 15 plus years as a paralegal and an office manager in a large law firm, it has made me able and ready to do this job, most definitely.
Now, with your years of experience at City Council, is there an accomplishment you'd like to highlight of that time in public service?
Well, after I sat and really thought about it, there's so much that I have done in that 9-year tenure that I had forgotten about some of the signature pieces of legislation that I've brought forward. So I will say right now, one of the things I think is really paramount is the live streaming legislation that I brought in, and I think it has really opened this community's eyes to what city government is doing with their tax dollars, and it also allows them to see us in real time. So that is probably one of the top 5 of my signature pieces for sure.
Absolutely. I know I've used the live stream. I'm not always able to attend a city council meeting, right, but on that Tuesday after, and you can put up there on YouTube and watch it.
Right, absolutely. And it's just, even looking at it, just even from Monday's council meeting, I went on there to share with my daughters, and it had over 1,000 views. So it's working. It's working, right. Absolutely.
And now I know you're very active with progressive-minded folks, and so this question might be very easy for you. But what does it mean to be a progressive, and do you identify as a progressive?
What it means to me to be a progressive is first is putting people first and really doing the things that move the community, the whole community forward. That's what being a progressive is to me. And yes, I'm not apologetic about it. I think it's very important that we have like-minded people in these spaces, and it doesn't bother me at all when people say, oh my God, you're a progressive. Okay, thank you.
And now, with your campaign, I'm sure you've talked with a lot of different constituents, voters. What are some of the most common issues that you hear from these voters? And do you have any ideas of some solutions you have for those issues?
Right. Public safety, number 1. Housing, number 2. Economic development and job creation. Down there is like 4 or 5 is mental health and addiction. And our whole entire platform is centered and rooted in those 3 items. When we looked at the polling that was done, as they read through the polling, our campaign, we smiled because it was everything that our platform embodies. Public safety is making sure that we have safe, secure neighborhoods, and that happens when we have good working relationships between the police and the community, and making sure that people feel safe when they come home and they leave home. And that means having substations in neighborhoods, making sure that all of our officers are trained, making sure that our officers have those trauma services when they need them, making sure that our officers understand that it's okay to tell people you're not okay. Because when they're not okay, our neighborhoods are not okay. And the most important thing to me is making sure that all of our officers are CIT trained. I think they all need to be trained at knowing how to deal with somebody who may be having a mental health moment. I think that is paramount. We have a lot of different specialized units within the police department. This should not be a specialized unit. I think it should be something that is continual for all officers. So that's public safety housing. We have to do a better job in making sure that we build sustainable, affordable housing here in the city of Akron. We can't continue to try to push all housing out west, and we're forgetting about our neighborhoods. And if we don't build strong neighborhoods, how do we think we're going to build population? You're talking about you want people to live here and grow here and stay here. That starts with making sure that our neighbors and neighborhoods are salvageable. When you have every other house on the street that's vacant, how do you expect for people to buy into moving into the city? So we have to do a better job at rehabbing those houses and building new houses in those communities where people can afford them.
Now, you mentioned public safety. And I know in the recent election, we passed issue 10, which was the Citizens Police Oversight Board. What is your opinion of the board itself, and then what other thoughts do you have to help policing in Akron?
Right, so as you saw on Monday, we are at an impasse right now. We are actually in contempt right now because we did not seat a board. And that's because we have one candidate that a few on council do not agree with, and that is unfortunate because he encompasses everything that we are looking for this board. And it's just very problematic to us as a city that we can't get past someone having a life moment to say, okay, you've apologized. How many times do you have to apologize? But that does not mean that he's not fit to be on this board. He is actually the reason why this board needs to exist, because a young man who is in that same age group as he is in is the reason for all of this. And honestly, there's a lot of officers who are not against this. You know, I think they're all being put and lumped into one category, but a lot of them don't even care about it being there. It's not going to affect them because they're there to do a job and to keep it moving, and that's okay. And so I think it's a good thing. I think that we as a council and probably as the next mayor, we need to go in and do a little tweak of the charter to make sure that it works. And so we don't run into this problem again when it comes time to seat another board, because I think it's every 6 years. We need to make sure this does not happen again, for sure.
I know another issue was back in December of 2022. The city council passed the White Pond project. And I recall your vote was a no on that decision. Would you like to explain maybe what thought process went into your White Pond decision?
Well, as an environmentalist, I think it's problematic that we would even want to develop wetlands and to build where we have aquatic species, endangered species. That in itself makes it problematic. And these properties are going to sink. If you build it over there, they're going to sink. It's a wetland. I don't care how you pad it for people. It's problematic. We're talking about people who will begin to have breathing issues. There's going to be mold issues. There are going to be all kind of health issues that come along with building on wetlands. So why even bother? I voted no because I don't like to dip in other wards' business. So a lot of things that were going on behind the scenes we didn't know about because this is in a different ward, and we are very, very sensitive about our wards. So when it came to us for zoning, I sit on the Planning and Economic Development Committee. It was just about zoning. No one said anything about these were wetlands. No one said anything about aquatic species. So once the zoning passed, we started getting flooded with emails. And I said, wait a minute, what is going on? So then we started doing some research, and then the more I started talking to people, I said, this is problematic. We can't do this. And in the 11th hour, even after I was just totally just not supportive of it, I find out that they have active gas and oil wells on the property. I just didn't understand that. For me, I've never voted for anything that has to do with fracking, and whenever it comes to city council, I vote against it adamantly. I stopped the sale of Ladue Reservoir once we found out that there was fracking involved. And I just think these are things as a city that we have to stop doing. And in our platform, we talk extensively about our environmental piece, that we're going to ban gas and oil wells and fracking in the city of Akron, and there will be no fracking on city land. We do plan on bringing in an environmental justice director, and they will oversee all of these projects to make sure that we are staying above board and making sure that we are allowing our wildlife to grow and that we're being friendly to Mother Earth.
Well, thank you so much for that explanation.
Absolutely, a long one, but I needed to get all that.
Oh, I
out. That's
appreciate
very
the
important.
detail that you put forth. And now, back in 2018, you were selected with Representative Kucinich for his run for governor in that race. And I know that race lost the Cordray Sutton ticket for the primary, or for the Democratic primary, and then, of course, Cordray lost to DeWine later. But with that experience you had with Dennis Kucinich and that campaign of a statewide race, what are some takeaways did you get from that experience?
Oh, my goodness. So I think that race shaped me in my political thought process and how important it is to meet people where they are. We hit every county in the state, all 88 counties. And the one thing that I learned from being down in the southern parts of the county, I will tell you, there were Trump flags everywhere. But I felt it necessary, and Dennis felt it necessary, that I go there and talk to them. And I said, he literally threw me into the lion's den. And just having those conversations with those individuals there, they just want somebody who is going to listen to them and about their concerns. And there were families there. These are farmers, and they were concerned because there was a big dairy farm getting ready to come in, and they were small dairy farms, and they knew it was going to put them out of business. And we talked extensively about what that looked like, and then I asked, I said, well, this only happens because the governor is allowing it to happen. This is only happening because the person you all voted for is allowing it to happen. I said, I mean, this is problematic for you all. You guys are going to have to go on assistance. And I asked a simple question, but would you still have voted for Trump? And they told me yes. And I asked why, and they said, because he came here. Because he came there. They said, no one ever comes here. No one ever checks on us. Nobody cares about us. And I think that's what goes on across, not just across the state, but right here in our community. People feel like no one is checking on them. No one is listening to them. No one is addressing the issues going on in these neighborhoods. And they want someone who's going to listen and lead. And I believe that I'm the person who will listen and lead for them based off of all the things that I've learned since 2018. I think I am battle tested and ready.
And so what is the best way for people to get more information about you, maybe contribute, or even if they're interested in volunteering, where should they go?
Absolutely. So if you log on to mosleyformayor.com, you can see our entire platform. It just went up yesterday, and I've been getting a lot of calls about my charter platform, about some of the charter changes, and they're good charter changes. So I encourage you all to go and learn a lot more about our campaign. This is not a campaign about me. This is a We and Us campaign, and we are moving the city forward. And that is the plan from here on out, is making sure that our residents know that they have a voice and an advocate in their city government, and that is mosleyformayor.com.
Well, thank you so much,
Absolutely.
Councilwoman Mosley. There you have it, Councilwoman Tara Mosley, candidate for Akron Mayor. Thank you for watching.